The Grand River watershed is home to hundreds of different species of fish, birds, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, and invertebrates and plants. They rely on the river as a food source, habitat to live, breed, and raise their young, and as a path to migrate along. It is important that we protect this river and the environment around it to keep it clean so that wildlife can continue to live on this river now and in the future. Did you know there are 66 species at risk in the Grand River watershed? Some of them are REDSIDE dace, a fish with large eyes and a red stripe that jumps out of the water to catch flying bugs to eat. Jefferson salamander, a small brownish-gray amphibian that lives under rocks and in burrows. It starts life as eggs in forest ponds, then eventually loses their gills when they become adults. Then there is the Blanding's turtle, a reptile with a yellow throat and chin, and a domed shell that lives in shallow water, usually in large wetlands. And the bald eagle, a large bird with a bright white head, neck and tail, and a dark brown body with a wingspan over 2 meters. They nest in large trees near major lakes and rivers where they can hunt for fish. But what are species at risk? Species at risk are animals that have special statuses given to them by the government in order to know how to protect them. In Ontario, animals that are at risk of survival can be listed as endangered, threatened, or species of concern. Endangered means the species lives in the wild in Ontario but is facing imminent extinction or extirpation. Extinction means the dying out of a species, and extirpation is the local extinction of an organism or species, where they cease to exist in a particular area but continue to exist elsewhere. Threatened means the species lives in the wild in Ontario, is not endangered, but is likely to become endangered if steps are not taken to address factors threatening it. Special concern means the species lives in the wild in Ontario, is not endangered or threatened, but may become threatened or endangered due to a combination of biological characteristics and identified threats. So why are these species at risk? Oftentimes it is because of our actions. Human activities such as collecting wild plants and animals, removing them from the environment, can cause them to be lost, hurt, or even die. Removing vegetation near forests, meadows, and water causes their habitat to become degraded and fragmented. Installing dams and culverts changes how water flows and may prevent migration of species upstream. Chemicals like pesticides, fertilizers, and household chemicals like paint thinners decrease the water quality. Urban and agricultural runoff increase litter, sediment, and nutrients in the water, decreasing the water quality. Take, for example, these 3 models. This is ground that has lots of undisturbed vegetation. This is ground that has had vegetation removed but has wood chips on top. And this is ground that has been removed of everything but soil. What happens when it rains? I add the same amount of water to each environment. Which one is the cleanest water? Which one is the dirtiest? Which one would animals prefer to live in or drink from? REDSIDE dace are endangered due to habitat loss and degradation caused by urban and agricultural development. Increased sediment in the water makes it hard for them to see, while removal of vegetation near water reduces the amount of cover and food for the fish. Jefferson salamander also have endangered status because they need undisturbed deciduous forest floor and unpolluted breeding ponds that do not dry up in the summer. Blanding's turtles have threatened status because the loss and fragmentation of habitat, motor vehicles that run them over, and illegal collection for the pet trade. Bald eagles have special concern status because of pesticides that thin the shells of the eggs they lay, causing them to break, and the continued development of shoreline habitat and pollution. Due to limited use of pesticides, we are now starting to see more and more bald eagles in the Grand River area and Ontario. So what can we do to help these species? We can protect these species by reporting when we see them, like on the iNaturalist app or website. We can not collect native plants and animals from the wild. being aware of important breeding and migration seasons, and avoid disturbing their habitats by sticking to trails when we walk in their natural habitats. We can also make sure we don't litter, dispose of electronics and hazard waste responsibly, reduce runoff from properties by using rain barrels and rain gardens, and organize neighborhood cleanup days. We can restore their habitats by planting trees and native plants, especially natural buffers around wetlands and other water bodies. The Grand River is a beautiful place where we need to balance human activity and respect the animals in their habitat. There's a lot we can do as individuals and as a community to help protect these species at risk. What will you do?